Hey everyone, it's me, Brienne of the Huntswoman. Follow me on social media at _Huntswoman. I'm here with my BFF, an archaeologist, hence the title of this video, Catherine Rose. Kate,
Hello.
can you tell the people what kind of archaeology you do?
Yes, I am an Egyptologist. I specialize in the archaeology of Egypt and more broadly the Middle East. I'm a PhD candidate at Harvard right now, and I am so very close to finishing. I have like a couple more months. I'm so close. Yeah, but I studied archaeology as an undergrad. I've been doing it for about 10 years. And the type of archaeology I do is like the archaeology of cemeteries. So lots of digging.
Lots of death.
Yeah, lots
We're
of
death
death.
positive in these parts.
Definitely.
Okay, so because Kate does all this cool stuff and I get to hear all about it, so I thought it would be fun to do like a little Q&A, if you will, a little rapid fire on what Kate does and what it actually entails. Okay, question 1. Indiana Jones. Is it anything like that? Are there Harrison Fords running around in libraries? And if so, which ones?
Right, can we get the addresses? Great question. I get it all of the time. The answer is no, and we're very thankful that it's not like that. That's because the type of archaeology portrayed in Indiana Jones is a very old school, glamorized, sort of adventure, treasure hunting style of archaeology. That's it really does not resemble the current field at all. Archaeology is the systematic scientific study of the human past. It's come a long way in terms of being ethical and responsible and, being entrenched in a lot of different dialogues and discussions, regarding identity and politics. So we've got a long way to go within archaeology, but it really is nothing like what you would see in Indiana Jones.
So there's no like rope.
Right.
Gymnastic moments.
There's not a lot of running from giant boulders. There's a lot of dodging snakes. I will be real about that. It totally depends on where you work, but where I work in the desert, I've had my fair few encounters with snakes. I would say, that being said, archaeology still is very exciting. It's very inspiring. You get to meet a lot of different people. You get to travel to just really amazing places. So the kind of exciting adventure spirit of Indiana Jones is very accurate. I mean, that is something that you will find. But I mean, that's just like the base, very surface level.
And from like my outside view, it seems like the Indiana Jones method of archaeology is very paternalistic and colonial, and it's like white people showing up thinking that they know everything, and so archaeology is really trying to move away from
Absolutely. Archaeology of the 21st century is inherently collaboration based, so it's about the archaeologists working with lots of different stakeholders, not just swooping in on a vine and stealing artifacts and taking them away to an ivory towered museum. That's not it at all.
Yeah, and one of the fun things that I also learned from watching you run around is that there are countries that actually won't let archaeologists from certain well-known schools and institutions like into the country to work because they steal stuff.
Definitely.
Or they just like take it back to the university and just never give it back.
Or they just, don't treat people from those countries with respect, or they're not very collaborative. So yeah, you can definitely be blacklisted in archaeology for doing like these kind of Indiana Jones old school archaeology things.
I want to talk about all the shovels you have.
Okay, yeah.
So when we became friends and then best friends, we're best friends. And during Kate's undergrad, my only higher education experience, thank you God. And I had like little gardening trowels, but like archaeologists have a next level of shovels and tools that like blows my mind.
Yeah.
So how many shovels or like little tools do you take with you when you go out to the field?
It's so funny. The like questions non-archaeologist asks. What shovels do you bring? Okay, I mean, We use a lot of different types of tools. I think, like, if you've been on as many digs as I've been on, like, you don't think about it that much. You just kind of know what you're supposed to bring. So archaeologists buy hardcore trowels from, like, masonry companies. So the same trowels that people are using to lay concrete and build houses, those are what we're using. They're just sharper, they have the right angles, they're more heavy duty, they're made out of, like, actual metal and steel.
This is not your gardening or planting daisies.
No.
Trowel.
This is your work trowel.
Yeah.
So Marshalltown is, you know, the gold standard for trowels in archaeology.
Send us some trowels.
So the trowel, for sure, is the cornerstone of all archaeological work. And then we have smaller trowels, which we call leaf trowels. And they're just like little pointy ones, and that's for like detailed work. So if you're digging a skeleton, if you're digging some fragile material, no.
And then the final tool that I want to discuss, and you know which one it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's the winner, the pickaxe.
Yes.
Archaeologists use pickaxes in very specific situations. If you were doing like Indiana Jones style archaeology, you would use a pickaxe to like break through walls and floors and graves, and we don't do that. We use pickaxes to clear like topsoil or large rocks or something that we know is not delicate. So I have a gigantic pickaxe. It's like 20 pounds. It's huge and glorious and shiny. And I've confused many a TSA agent with having it in my bag. But it's my baby.
Can you bring it on the flight?
You can check it in your baggage, yeah.
But you can't bring it like with you on the plane. Like
no, God, no. It's actually like sort of classified as a weapon, I would assume. Like, it's kind of scary looking, but it's great. It's a little handheld one. It doesn't have a long handle, but it's terrible.
Something that I think is really fascinating about the world of archaeology, and keep in mind I'm in the cheap seats, is cultural sensitivity and how that interplays with feminist ideologies. Because obviously my idea of like feminism is going to be different and play out differently when you go to places that have different ideas about dress and like what's appropriate to wear.
Yeah.
And so when you go to a new place, how do you check that? How do you check yourself and keep from making like judgments on other people's cultures, et cetera, et cetera?
Actually being intentional about sitting down before you go to a place and really trying to prepare yourself as best as possible. Lots of people don't do that. It just doesn't occur to them. Second thing I would say, you also just have to be open and willing to make mistakes and to learn when you're there. There have been lots of times for me personally working in the Middle East, you know, it's never been anything egregious, but like, you know, maybe I was wearing a t-shirt which was, you know, modest in my opinion, but maybe when I sat down it dropped a little low, something like that. You know, you just have to be open to people telling you, maybe in public, like, hey, can you put a scarf around? Or it's really important to try to understand cultural norms from the perspective of the people in that culture. So everyone is biased by their own social and cultural norms and education and sentiments. So how you see feminism, for example, playing out in another culture is not the same as how feminists from that culture see feminism playing out in their culture. A big example I like to use is, you know, dress in the Middle East is so often portrayed as a modesty issue just for women, and that's not true at all.
Cool.
Everyone dresses modest in the Middle East, including men. Modesty is kind of a norm for both men and women. You never see men in the Middle East wearing like tank tops or shorts or anything like that. So it's really not a gendered thing. It's just it's a cultural thing. So being open to that and being willing and open to recognizing your own biases makes the experience more enriching.
Yeah, control, copy, paste for feminism does not work.
People.
So something that I think that pop culture like misses out with Indiana Jones at all is that there's this idea of like the solo archaeologist going in and digging and doing stuff, but that's not actually how this works.
Right.
There's either small digs or large digs, but you're not like riding solo out there in the desert digging stuff up. You would probably die. First
Yeah.
of all, that's not fun. So
Yeah.
can you talk about like the different sizes of digs?
So you work most successfully when you work as a part of a project that has, multiple people working on it, multiple sources of funding, that knows, like the local community really well, that works really well with the local government officials. So for example, but that can happen at all, stages of funding. So in Turkey, I worked for a project that had like over 100 people working on it.
Wow.
I swear it kind of felt like working in like the Google campus, right? Where you just have like so many people and everyone's doing so many different things, but it functions as a well-oiled machine. That is not the norm. This project is very famous for, being sort of one of these big deal, large scale projects. But the norm is much more, like a 20 to 25 person project where you've definitely got a few different funding sources. You're definitely sponsored by at least one or two different institutions. But it's a more small to medium scale. And that doesn't mean that it produces less publications, that it's doing, less exciting or less responsible archaeology. It's more just, about what people decide that they want to manage, and what their connections are in the country.
Yeah. And that's also a cool thing too, is like the projects get entrenched in the local economies because you have, it's not tourism, but when you have to bring in and house people and bring in food for them and do all this stuff, that has like an impact on what the locals are doing.
100%. This is something that archaeology has gotten more comfortable with being open about, just how much of an economic stimulus it can be to a community. And again, not just for the tourism side, but for people who are actually living in a nearby town. You're employing people to work on your project. You're buying food and transportation services and other things that community provides. It's really important that archaeologists don't consider themselves to be like foreign saviors, right?
Yeah, no,
Coming
we don't
into
like
a country.
white savior complex.
We don't love that. That is, but that should definitely be a part of the conversation, for sure.
And like the impact that a project can have, because projects finish.
Right, the context, but I just say generally archaeologists definitely do think about this. What state do you want to leave in? You ideally want to leave on excellent terms with the community. So that entails things like not leaving behind like stupid old rusty equipment that's just going to sit there and disintegrate and be an eyesore for people who actually have to live there. Are you going to put in place an infrastructure to maintain tourism when you're not there, right? So are you going to have like, a working facility for people to go and visit and use the bathroom, go to a gift shop, get water, like just minutia like this? Is there going to be someone to greet people when they visit the site? So deciding sort of where you are on that spectrum from, high involvement, high financial involvement to low financial involvement, where you want to be on there, and then just making sure that you're responsible with it, and then you're not leaving problems that the communities then have to solve.
And that's why a lot of these countries now have like a lot of permits and like application processes, and there's a lot of bureaucracy involved, which I can understand would probably be obnoxious when you're like trying to discover things and like work with the people, but I feel like those processes are probably really helpful in making sure it's not show when you leave.
Definitely making sure that you're not just letting anybody do work there, that it's going to be projects that have plans, that are responsible, that are ethical, that want to be involved, that have good relations with people and communities. Yeah, it's like a vetting process, kind of.
Yeah. So. Okay, so where can people find you on the socials?
I am at Archaeokate. That's ARCHAEOKATE, Archaeokate, on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
And then also I would love to do more of these videos with Kate, obviously. I'm super obsessed with her. She's my best friend. So if you have questions that you would like us to answer in a future video, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. And thanks for tuning in with us.
Thank you.
Bye.